What's up and welcome to another YaBoiWilly company tier list coming in here for New World. So I know that it's been a second since we have done a company tier list, but I'm really excited to get into it. Now, before we get started, obviously we are doing this in a different format. We used to do the company tier list live, but we are changing that up. I think this way is going to be a good way to kind of give my authentic opinion without being influenced by others. And I think you guys are going to like it a little bit more. Even if you disagree, at least you know it's what I think. And you guys know I got nothing but love and respect for everybody's opinion out here. As a community, that's what it's about. Everybody's gonna have their own opinions, ideas on where they think these companies go. And of course, don't forget to hit that like and sub down below. Even leave a comment. It helps with the engagement. And I know you guys support me heavily on Twitch, but I do plan on making at least a video a week here on YouTube. So support your boy over here as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the tier list. All right, guys, before we get into this tier list, let's go ahead and talk about some of the companies that have left since the last one. I'm hoping that this is all of them here. I may or may not be missing some. It's very possible. There's a reality that happens, right? But we're going to try and keep up with it moving forward. Either way, though, sad to see these companies going. And honestly, the biggest one is Dropouts. Dropouts disbanding was a bit of a shock to everybody, but it speaks a little bit more about the state of the game in New World as a whole. A lot of people waiting around until October, and yeah, it sucks, but there still is a core community that is out here, and I'm really excited to jump into it. So here are the companies that we have tonight. We're gonna see what it looks like here. I do think that we have most companies that are active right now, at least actively warring. Obviously, comment below if I missed somebody. I want to try and make sure I get everyone here. But with further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. We are going to be starting out here with Marama. So we are going to be starting here with Marama. We're going to go ahead and have the image of the most recent up-to-date map for the server here. Obviously, we are going to be ranking all of these companies on one tier list, even though they are from different servers, but I like to go ahead and rank them all in one. It's a lot more fun that way, and especially with how small the servers are these days, I feel like doing individual tier lists for each server really wouldn't do as much justice. Now, let's go ahead and get into the ranking. Now, I need everybody to get their hands together for the all-time reigning champions, Supple. Yeah, woo! Yeah, no, yeah, guys, they did it. They won New World. No, guys, all jokes aside, Supple's won New World, man. I mean, what more can we say about this company? They are a Covenant company over here on Marama. They have been dominating for God knows how long. These guys are just absolutely insane. Dropouts officially dropping out of the competition against them. We're going to talk about where a lot of those guys went after this, but Supple, I mean, they won New World, bro. These guys, they're just insane. I mean, they did it. S tier, everybody knows it. I know it, you know it, your grandma knows it. It's just how it is. So it's a way of life here for us here at us here over here in New World. So let's go ahead and get to the next company here though. Now, next company coming up is going to be their sister brother from another mother company. We got Tuple. Tuple is a Covenant company out here on Marama. These guys are pretty dang good in and of themselves. Now, they get a lot of flack in the community because if they win, they're just hailed as Supple clones. But to be honest, if you know, they do have a lot of their own in-house talent. They are their own company, and I got to give them some flowers. They've really been leveling up, and I've seen them at their conception. They've always been pretty good, but as of recent, they've really been shining. They've had some really strong wars, but also some questionable ones. We're gonna obviously talk about the server as a whole, but I think Tuple actually gets an A tier slot. Now, obviously, we're gonna be ranking all of these in a row, but we'll talk more about other companies here and why I say that. But I do think that they are solid. Now, getting into the next company, we are going to be talking about G-Unit, and we in the club. No, look, we ain't talking about the rap group, okay? This is the new homies, so let's talk about it. G-Unit, a syndicate company over here on Marama, and this is where pretty much most of the Dropout boys went. a lot of the Dropout squad. Now, G Unit was also, if I'm not mistaken, formed up from some technical, some egoed as well. But essentially, this is supposed to be the big heavy hitter guys that are somewhat replacing Dropouts. You know, Dropout's always been like the next competition when it comes to strength on the server. So now, aside from Supple, so G Unit is kind of replacing that. Now, I will say these guys have attacked Supple multiple times, and they've gotten held on the side point every time. The biggest war that we've seen coming out from them as of recent was G Unit versus Tuple. Now, in a crazy war that a lot of people was not expecting, they had G Unit versus Tuple here, and a lot of people thought G Unit was gonna go ahead and sweep Tuple instantly, right? Like they thought it was going to be a win within the first, 20 minutes, no shot against the last 10. You gotta give Tuple some props here. They held that out for a hot second. I think it was like last 5 minutes. We'll get the video up on the screen if it hasn't already played already. But either way, it's really cool. For good looks for Tuple. I do gotta say, we rank in a lot of things here when it comes to just how I rank these companies. G Unit barely beating Tuple is a rough look, and getting held on side point against Supple consistently is something of note as well. But I do think since they did beat Tuple and they've had some okay wars against Supple, I mean, as okay as you can have against Supple, the sweet overlords of New World, I'm gonna put them above Tuple right now. Obviously not in that A+ just yet. We need to see some sauce, and look, I'm not trying to give any smoke to Tuple's way here, but it was a good hold from Tuple if you ask me. I mean, the fact that that's kind of what I have to go off here. Now that we got these three companies out of the way, let's go ahead and get into some more here on Marama. We're going to talk about Getting Active. They are a syndicate company here on the server, and they get active. They've been having a very good couple months as well. Starting out kind of shaky and then just leveling up as they continue to grow. They've been having some good looks. They've had some shaky wars too. Kind of a callback to the Dread versus Getting Active war. They didn't have the best look. A lot of people were thinking that they would come in and cook a little harder, but either way, they have been having good times. And our most recent war that we caught from them was Tuple and Getting Active. It was a banger, if I do say so myself. Getting Active against all odds, even though Tuple coming in as the favorites, Getting Active able to hold it down. I will say, even with that dub though, I don't think that it's enough to take them straight to that A tier. If I look at it all so far, I think respectfully around the top of B is right now. I think they can be comparable on this level. I do think that Tuple is just, just a slight tier above Getting Active, in my personal opinion. So what can I say? Now let's go ahead and talk about the Merc Guardians. And guys, they're not a meme anymore, okay? To anybody who might be cashing this, like, hey, I'm wondering what New World's looking like. What are these companies looking like? I know, Merc Guards, they got a shaky past, but man, Merc Guards has really been leveling up and kind of surprising everybody. These guys have really taken the reins of their company, and they're starting to really transform into the war company that they've always wanted to be. Merc Guards has had some insane wars on Marama and really are a force to be reckoned with. And I gotta say, I think when it comes to strength, they are right here, right next to Getting Active. I think both these companies are extremely similar in power levels, if you ask me. Personally, the Merc Guards Getting Active wars are just absolute bangers. Really good times, really fun ones, if I do say so myself. Now let's go ahead and talk about minus 15K as well. Now I feel like I haven't seen minus 15K on the server for a hot second. Minus 15K is a Marauder company out here on Marama. These guys, you might recognize their name. They had a bit of a hiatus, but they are back and they are in form. Now, is this really the main roster of minus 15K that you guys might know in the past? The dominating minus 15K, their legacy Not really, not necessarily, but they definitely got some strong players and they do be cooking out here. I feel like I haven't seen a most recent war coming out of them, but I've seen them fight Merc cards a couple times and they've looked good and had some convincing wins against some other companies on Marama. I think right now I'm gonna put them right here around B. Somebody in the chat can be like, oh, they're dead. I mean, look, there's a very real possibility. Guys, if any of these companies are dead by the time this tier list is posted, I'm not surprised, okay? Like, dude, it's a whole morgue. It's a company graveyard at times. So look, I'm just saying, I'm calling it as it is right now. That's where I would put them. That's where I would put them. So yeah, I think minus 50K, great company. I'm gonna put them in that B tier. Now we're going to talk about a newer company that is coming out here on Marama. We're going to talk about The Imminent, which is a pretty cool name. They're a syndicate company here. Now we've caught a couple of their wars. You could put them in needs to see more, but to be honest, with where we're at currently in New World, I want to slot as much companies as I can. Why not? Why not go ahead and do that, right? So I think The Imminent, they've had a decent look. I know they beat Dread, but Dread didn't slop, but I mean, maybe that's just because The Imminent was flexing their dong. I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, probably maybe Dread didn't feel like they had it. We did see them attack Merc guards, but it was a convincing hold coming out from Merc guards. It wasn't really too much. Again, there's not a lot of sauce to base these guys off with, but I think just respectfully placing, since we've seen them, I think C tier is totally fine. Again, we've only seen a couple wars. They look solid from what we've seen, but not being able to beat Merc guards, and you know, hey, we'll see more. We'll see what happens in the future. Now, right after The Imminent, we are going to be talking about Dread. Dread is a Covenant company out here on Marama. These guys have really started out really slow, but kind of been leveling up. Dread has a weird trajectory because I feel like Dread catches dubs. They do a good job, they catch dubs, but then they lose right after sometimes, you know. They have good wins against some of the smaller companies and less experienced war companies, but they kind of, every time they get a territory, it seems like these guys are like, it's like smelling blood in the water. The whole server is just like, we got to take their Terry, bro. So I kind of feel for Dread a little bit. I do think, though, if they believed in themselves more, they might be able to have a better look. Like, for instance, I think they backed out. I kind of hit on it a second ago. They backed out against the Imminent War, and I felt like that would have been a good war for them because I feel like Getting Active, they had a war against Getting Active, and it was pretty decent. Like, Getting Active, you know, could have won quicker, and Dread was really showcasing some prowess, some strength, and I respect that. I like that. But either way, I think Dread is going to be right here in the C tier as well. Just kind of vibing next to their homies here. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the other companies on the server. We're gonna go ahead and grab Unnatural Born Killers, a syndicate company here on Marama, and I will say less experienced. These guys are kind of a swing and a miss. You never really know what you're getting. You know, to be honest, you gotta respect the hustle, but to be fair, we really haven't seen a good war coming out from them. Just gonna keep it a buck, okay? So I gotta respectfully put them in the F tier. Again, we haven't really seen nothing coming out. I do obviously, look, I got nothing but respect for companies that are out here trying to cook and get wars in, especially in the state of the game. But the reality is we haven't seen these guys catch any convincing W's. So it is what it is. Let's grab another one here. We're going to talk about Shadow Wizard Money Gang. We love casting spells. No, Shadow Wizard Money Gang, these guys are starting to build up their own infamy here on Marama. They're a syndicate company here on Marinara Sauce, and they've had some decent wars, but they're, again, swing and a miss, man. It's like they can look convincing at times. You know, I know they got a decent foundation, and I absolutely respect it as a whole. I love the fact that we're seeing companies trying to level up and get there, but the reality is this is results-based analysis, or whatever the hell this is. But you know, I gotta put them in the D tier. Not necessarily an unnatural natural born killer level. We have seen that Shadow Wizard, I do think that they have a good fundamentals, but they lack the execution and the closing. So it is what it is here. Let's go ahead and talk about another one on the server. We should be jumping into Calamity. Now, Calamity is a syndicate company out here on the server as well. I will say a lot of these guys are super nice, super sweet. I've only had good interactions with Calamity personally. I will say being super sweet does not necessarily catch you in a plus tier ranking, okay? No, they're cool. We've had, you know, we just haven't seen much coming out from them. Again, it's very similar to Shadow Wizard Money Game. Good foundation, but not much else to really go off of that. So I'm going to put them behind Shadow Wizard. I think these guys are similar if you ask me, but currently that's kind of what the vibes if I were to rank it here. And I think that might be all of Marama here. Let me double check. I think Graham went to Valhalla. I'm like 90% sure. So yeah, I believe that is all of Marama at the moment. So now we are going to be ranking the rest of them with this squad, but that's what this ranking looks like here. We're going to go ahead and get into Lilith. So Lilith is really exciting because this is the land of Willy. No, I wore the most here on this server. I love it. I'm in the free rangers. I will go ahead and put up an image here of the most current up-to-date map for Lilith. But yeah, this server is a lot of fun. I will say it's not as spicy as it was a couple months ago, and obviously we'll talk about that, we'll get into that, but we'll go ahead and start ranking some of these companies. And why not start out with the Free Rangers? The Free Rangers, a syndicate company here. Now, your boy is in this one, so I'm biased. Guys, it's S tier. It's S tier. No, look, I'm sorry, Achilles. I'm sorry, dude. I can't do that. If I did that, I think the evil Dekrin would find where I live and like kill me or something. But no, the Free Rangers, they're pretty good on the server. What can I say? Even, you know, again, bias aside, this company, really good. They have always had territory. They work well with the other companies on the server. It's really nice. They've had some really good dubs, some close calls, and a lot of fun. Shout out to the last award that we caught. We had Leandro versus us, and what can I say? It was a Bob Diffie. It was a Bob Diffie. No, Leandro is a big force against TFR, but the Free Rangers, respectfully, I think are B tier. I think B tier is a good spot to put them. I like it. I like it. Look, I think that's totally fine. And we'll obviously talk more about the strength of the other companies here on the server. So speaking about strength there, we'll go ahead and get into Ordo Renatus. Ordo Renatus, a Covenant company out here on Lilith. These guys have pretty much been the vertical replacements, if you will. You know, whenever Vertical left, Ordo Renatus took control and took charge, and they have pretty much been in control ever since. You got to show these guys some love. They've held it down pretty heavily on the server, and for a long time, they didn't really have any competition. But we have been seeing some competition between Ordo and Cosmic, which has been really exciting to see. Ordo finally having some sauce. I will say, I think Ordo is an A-tier company, and I really want to go ahead and talk about Cosmic right now too, because these guys have been having some very interesting wars. Cosmic is a company over here on Lilith, and they were pre-Dedo at one point, got transformed into Cosmic, and they've been doing big things ever since. You know, Cosmic and Ordo are pretty much the two powerhouses on the server. They do well, right? They just have extremely competitive rosters. These guys are very strong. And we have been seeing Ordo and Cosmic fight tooth and nail against each other. Cosmic looked really good a couple weeks back whenever they did actually catch a dub against Ordo, and we saw that light of fire under Ordo Renatus, and then now these guys have been battling back and forth. I will say for about the last week and a half though, we've been seeing a lot of single point holds. Shout out defense meta, you know. We've been seeing a lot of similarities when it comes to just how these guys fight each other, but the most recent war, we actually did see Ordo take it a fort against Cosmic. Now, also, we saw a little bit ago, Ordo had an extremely clutch defense against Cosmic as well. They held them on a side point, and Cosmic really didn't tick the point up at all. So I think Ordo, if I'm thinking stonks, I think Ordo is slowly stonking above Cosmic here. Although it is close, I would say Ordo slightly edges it out just due to recent wars, because if I go by the past, it's so similar, because Cosmic beat Ordo, then Ordo beat Cosmic, and then we've seen, you know, side point holds, and then now we're kind of going off of like incremental success. But to be quite honest though, these guys are extremely close. These guys are very close, you know, pretty fun to catch, man. You know, I like it. Or, you know, Ordo, I just personally like seeing Ordo finally having some competition. You know, as somebody who's been on this server and also been casting Lilith forever, it's just nice to see Ordo have some competition now. So I'm all here for it. Let's go ahead and talk about another company. Let's talk about 2058, 1738. No, I'm sorry, guys. I could not help myself. 2058 is a syndicate company here on Lilith. These guys have a great foundation, a lot of decent players, and you know, they're really nice. These guys are awesome. They're super sweet. I will say though, they tend to struggle when it comes to, once again, when it comes to just, I guess, cooking, right? They don't really have like convincing W's, and it's hard to on a server like Lilith when your competition is essentially Leandril, what is it, Ordo Renatus. Like, you know, it's kind of hard to, with them being syndicate. Either way though, I'm going to respectfully put them in the D tier. I do think that they have great foundation, and given, you know, the opportunity to fight people their level, I think these guys would be a company that levels up. You know, like if we had shout out Practice Wars, but if we had the opportunity to see these guys level up, I know that they would kind of come to bat here. I think they'd be able to do it. Now let's go ahead and talk about Mute Lilith, the Mute Lilith roster. Okay, now this could be a little troll. I could put them in needs to see more, which honestly they should be, just because we haven't really seen anything coming out from Mute on the Lilith server. We saw Leandro versus Mute twice. That's what I got to go off here. I will say though, I mean, Leandro, they kind of spanked him, but Mute in general, I have him here like the D tier. I know that because they looked bad the first war. They got kind of rolled quickly against Leandro, but they looked a lot better the second. And I think that's something. I think that's something to be stoked about. So just you know, slot companies here. I'm going to put them in D tier for now. Would like to see it moving forward. Now, let's go ahead and talk about Surpass. Surpass used to be a Covenant company, if you guys remember, but now they've gone green. Hashtag go green. No, these guys have gone green, and since they've gone green, they've been having some decent looks. They had a rough look, I believe, against, oh man, it was either TFR or Leandro at first, but then they just had a recent war against Leandro, and they were able to take these guys to fort. Really impressive stuff. Now, did they take it? No, Leandro held it down. But I think Surpass is in a great spot right now. I'm excited to see them continue to cook it up, and I'm going to be respectfully putting them in the C tier. I think C tier totally fine for Surpass. Again, you know, I'm excited to see more coming out from the squad. Now, I know, I already know right now, Decran is mad. He's like, Willie, just talk about Leandro. Fine. All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about Taxers. Taxers here on this server, they're a Marauder company. Now, the thing about Taxers is we don't really know 100% much about them. We've seen 2058 beat them convincingly. We've seen Tenacity beat them. Taxers, I'm gonna have to see more, dude. They're gonna be respectfully going to the F tier. And then also, while we're talking about it, Tenacity is they're still a Covenant company, but they used to be Resilient. They ended up going they ended up turning their name to Tenacity. They did beat Taxers, but again, I mean, I'm just gonna put them here. I'm gonna put him here, dude. Tenacity, top of F tier. I mean, oh, actually, wait a minute. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm gonna put him in back of D because they got foundation. Shout out to my boy Mad, okay? Look, that guy, he's got drive more than anybody else I've ever seen, bro. You know, I'll put him in the back of D just for their foundation alone because respectfully, I do think they would spank Unnatural Born Killers and Taxers in some degree. And when you're at these lower tiers, you just gotta go with what we got here, okay? So I'm gonna put him there. And then also, we're gonna talk about Hispana, Freaky Lil Mama. No, we're going to talk about Hispana a little bit. Hispana, we haven't seen a ton from, but they did fight TFR. They got farmed, but you know what? That's okay. I think their F tier It's fine. I believe they're a Brazilian company. Don't be mad at me if that's not true. I think so. I think. So yeah, we'll put them there for now. Now, let's talk about Leandro. I know a lot of people are ready for this one, bro. Leandro, these guys, finally, I gotta say, round of applause for Leandro. Guys, round of applause for old Leandro. These guys have been truly out here for a long time. One of the longest standing companies in New World, and no longer a meme. Leandro has leveled up. They've been really cooking here on Lilith. They are a Covenant company, in case I did not say that already, but they've been looking really good. Now, obviously, I wouldn't put Leandro in the A tier. I want to put him in the C tier. They're right here next to TFR. The question is here, I think their strength as a whole is, are they better than TFR right now? Or is TFR, a little bit better? I gotta say though, as much as it pains me, Leandro did take TFR to fort when TFR got held on a side point. And dude, they about took it. I gotta say right now, as much as I want to put the bias into TFR and say TFR, I feel like Leandro's just cooking a little more, man. I feel like Leandro's cooking a little more, bro. Shout out to my boy Deckard. No, for real though, I do think that Leandro, it's a lot of fun. These guys have amazing wars, and the biggest thing that I like about this dynamic right now, Leandro, TFR, and Surpass, is it's creating a really fun middle ground for companies here on Lilith. I am so here for it. It's what the server needs, and I like that. So really cool to see. This is gonna be what it looks like after Marama and Lilith. But guys, we have another server left, Valhalla, gonna be coming in next. We're gonna go ahead and get the image up here of the server, what it looks like currently. Valhalla is a lot of fun. I gotta say, Valhalla has to be, I mean, there's not many servers, but it's one of the most fun. The competition on this server is actually crazy, and even whenever I'm looking at rankings, it's pretty wild. Like, you see people all over the place, there's just so many different levels of talent on this server. I love it. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Oops. First, I see 3 out of 10. Oh, my bad. 3 out of 10's on Marama. Now, they are definitely in a needs to see more. Okay. Yeah, my bad. They're making a return on Marama. So yeah, my bad. Either way, let's talk about some other more needs to see more. Heaters could be dead, guys. I don't know if Heaters is even alive anymore. But I'm gonna put them in needs to see more because, dude, I don't, they could have fell victim to New World. And then Cram definitely in a needs to see more as well. I haven't caught a war from these guys in a long time, so just go ahead and get them out of the way. With that being said, though, we're gonna go ahead and talk about Net Worth Check. Net Worth Check is a syndicate company out here on Valhalla. These guys making a splash and looking pretty good off the rip. They have been consistently one of the strongest on the server, and as the tides are turning on Valhalla, Net Worth Check has continued to stay on top. These guys do a very good job at arguably being the most competitive on the server, and I gotta say, I'm putting Net Worth Check A+. Our first A+ ranking. I think Net Worth Check definitely belongs to Cook here. I like it. They're just extremely consistent. They look very good against like all companies. I will say the main company that gives them hell is Sinaloa. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Sinaloa is a Covenant company out here on the server because, again, I want to talk about this here. The Net Worth Check and Sinaloa fights are awesome. We saw a war between these guys where it came down to the wire, and Sinaloa showcases a lot of strength. I will say, though, as a whole, Sinaloa has some really inconsistency issues, at least when it comes to what I've seen right? I feel like Sinaloa just has a tough time staying consistent. So although Sinaloa is a very strong company, I don't think they're necessarily A+. I will put them at the top of A, though. I think that they are very strong, and they do go bat to bat with Net Worth Check. pretty good. Now, I know, guys, there's going to be some arguments. I can already see it now. Lol, Kek W, G-Unit. G-Unit behind Sinaloa and Kamiskel and Ordo. Look, okay, look, the thing is, they're on different servers, right? Like, I respectfully, you know, it's how it goes. And I want to say as well, guys, like, let's be honest. There's like we're almost all, everybody who is even interested in this is probably all in these wars. Like, people in Network Check are probably in like 7 of these companies. People in Sinaloa are probably in 7 of these companies. So I'm just gonna call it the way I want to. And what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, huh? No. Okay. Look, that's what I'm gonna put it as, okay? Look, man. But we're gonna roll with that. Now let's talk about Musket Union. Shout out to the Musket boys holding it down for God and country out here. Now, the Musket Union, these guys known for open world PvP, but guys, we have actually seen them start going to war. They actually put in a big effort into their warring efforts, and they just had their first legit war not too long ago, and it was against Scrandy, and it looked pretty decent. I do think that if they keep cooking, they could have some solid foundation. I personally put Musket Union towards the back of D tier right now, just because, again, we've seen one war. We know that they can get to that point of having a decent foundation, but is it going to be able to continue? You know, like, are we going to see the boys really cooking up here? Time will tell. Time will tell. So speaking of that, let's talk about Scrandy. Scrandy is a syndicate company out here on Valhalla, and these guys actually, as much crap as Scrandy gets, these guys actually do pretty decent. They have some solid wars. They look pretty good, and I'm not gonna lie, I put them at the top of D tier. I think Scrandy, you know, not necessarily C tier worthy just yet, but you know, they got foundation. They've had some dubs against some smaller companies, and they continue to fight and battle, and you gotta respect it. I think that they have looked somewhat strong. So I think when it comes to a lot of these, you know, kind of lower tier companies, I think Scrandy is a standout. Now let's talk, while we're talking about it too, we'll talk about Edge Point. Now, guys, I saw a VOD of Edge Point versus Scrandy, and it was an absolute freaking banger. Edge Point is a Marauder company out here on Valhalla. I did not catch this one live. We only have one war to base off of, but for the fact that Edge Point came in as a rebranded company, I forget, I think they used to be Impulsive. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they used to be Impulsive. Edge Point debuted and actually went pretty bananas. I like seeing it. They did beat Scrandy Squad in their one war, so I'm gonna put them a little bit above Scrandy for now. You know, why not? I'm gonna put them above here for now. I do think that you know, they came in for their debut war after rebranding and they won, so pretty good. I'm excited to see what they do more on the server. Now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about, let's do X Toxic, Exceptionally Toxic. That was a long name, so we just did X Toxic. Covenant Company on Valhalla, making me holla. I am going to be putting these guys probably in the F tier, respectfully. Probably in the F tier, respectfully here, dude. Look, the reality is, actually, let me reorganize this. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. You know, we haven't seen much coming out from Exceptionally Toxic. They get a territory, they lose it. It is what it is, you know, it's just how it goes. Yeah, it's just, we haven't seen much. So now, speaking of this too, we're going to talk about Relax Buddy. They are a syndicate company, and if I'm not mistaken, an offshoot of Scrandy. There was some, drama alert. No, there was some drama between Scrandy and I believe Relax Buddy was formed out of the mix. I will say Relax Buddy, they have tough wars. I haven't seen them really pop off. You know, I do think that they're top of F tier. You know, I think there's some foundation there, but is there going to be any ability to actually cook? We'll have to see. Now, let's go ahead and get to some of the spiciest rankings. And quite honestly, guys, these were probably the toughest. And as you guys can see, you'll know why. If you know Valhalla, you'll know why. We have Mute, Quacked, Atrocity, and Ping Diff. Jesus, these companies ranking was so hard. It was weird. So let's talk about Quacked. Quacked is a Covenant company here on Valhalla. Although Quacked came in super hot, the ducks are kind of, they're sitting on the pond now. They're eating bread. I don't know what's going on. They're starting to have some rougher wars. We just saw them get absolutely spanked. I'm pretty sure by Atrocity, not long ago. It was Atrocity or another company. Well, I'll pull it up. But yeah, they got spanked pretty recently, which is unfortunate to see. You know, I do think that these guys are competitive, but you know, it's tough. It's tough. They're competing for decks against some companies, the Brazilian boys, but I think Quacked is probably top of C tier right now. When it comes to these companies on Valhalla, I think Quacked is probably the most just kind of like, you know, C tier, consistent. They, you know, they could push to that B, the push to that A, but yeah. Let's talk about Mute. Mute is a syndicate company out here on good old Valhalla. These guys have banger wars against with everybody else. It's so tough to say, you know, ranking these companies. I think personally though, Mute is B tier. I think they're right here in the middle of B. They're strong, but I think out of some of the other companies, we have seen consistency issues with Mute. Sometimes they'll look really good. Sometimes it'll be like some question marks. It's not as strong as you think they'd look. And really it's when they have these wars against Atrocity and Ping Diff. So let's talk about the Brazilian boys. Shout out Brazil. No, shout out Brazil here. They're awesome, man. Shout out to the Brazilian homies. Ping Diff, these guys are cool as hell. And let me give you guys an explanation. If you guys don't know who Ping Diff is, they are a South American company coming in here from Brazil, obviously other countries and areas as well. They have done a kind of the impossible. They've been the first company that is coming in out of a different region that has actually been competitive. At first, they caught some dubs off the rip, and a lot of people were saying they weren't taking these guys seriously. But after them catching some victories, everybody's starting to take them seriously. They did have a bit of a lull there for a second, but I think Ping Diff is really starting to get back in their bag. Now, do I think Ping Diff is A tier right now? Negative. But do I think Ping Diff is top of B? I'm positive with that. I actually think Ping Diff looks very strong, and even though these guys are playing at literally 160 ping, they're doing a pretty damn good job with it. So I like it. They have some of the most fun wars on the server, and you got to give it to them, man. They're so, you know, they got so much dedication and passion. I love seeing it. These guys are cooks in and of their own right. So let's go ahead and talk about the last company here, Atrocity. Atrocity, man. These guys coming back, they're a Marauder company on Valhalla, so I'm getting excited. Atrocity, I don't know, the only company where the flute buff is literally a warhorn. Like, it's a dedicated warhorn. Every time Atrocity looks like they're gonna lose, they just, I don't know, it's like the power of God and anime is on their side, the power of friendship or something. It's like, dude, it's like they have like, they're just insane. They just somehow win. Atrocity continues to be, in my personal opinion, one of the most fun companies to catch, especially when you have these Ping Diff wars, these Mute wars. I would like to see Atrocity versus Network check. I do think that that's going to be their next big competition, or even Sinaloa. Actually, yeah, Sinaloa and Atrocity probably would be fun, but either way, I think Atrocity is a good standout. And having, I think, arguably one of the most wars that we've seen coming out from any company, and having such a splash, I will say Atrocity is in the A tier for me. My personal opinion, look, I just think that they have some fun wars. They are consistent. They keep winning. No, they keep winning. It's just amazing. It's looking good for their company. So yeah, this is actually going to be my finalized tier list. This is a lot to what I had down, without obviously anybody trying to, you know, convince me otherwise. You can not like it. That's fine. You could be like, Willie, what are you smoking, bro? You're smoking on that pack. Maybe I am, dude. Maybe I am. You don't know. This isn't even live. I could have hit a fresh pack of za and you guys wouldn't know. No, seriously though, this is what I'm going to roll with. I do hope that you guys enjoyed the tier list, right? I hope it was a lot of fun for you guys. Don't forget to hit that like, that sub down below. Leave a comment. Do you like it? Did you say, Willie, more? I want more videos like this. Or are you like, Willie, I hate you, Willie. Cursed Willie. Look, let me know either way. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed the vid. Peace, and I'll see you later.